Well, the talks are characterized by the relations which we developed with India for many, many decades. The relations are strategic partnership, even especially privileged strategic partnership, as our Indian friends called it some time ago. And this was the basis on which we have been promoting our cooperation in all areas, economy, military, technical, humanitarian, investment, and many other fields. And I believe that Indian foreign policy is characterized by independence and the concentration on real national legitimate interests. The same policy basis exists in the Russian Federation, and this makes us, as big countries, good friends and old partners, an important part of the international relations. We always respect each other's interest, and we always try to accommodate the interest of each other. And this was the meaning of our discussion, which covered all bilateral areas of cooperation and covered, of course, international and regional issues. The situation in the region is not perfect as in any other place on earth, and we support the Indian effort to consolidate the regional countries and to promote mutually beneficial projects in the South Asia in particular.
Good afternoon. Sergey Viktorovich, for a long time our country has been building relations with Western countries. Today, when it is obvious that all economic cooperation has been practically destroyed, you are flying on your first Asian tour after the start of the special operation in Ukraine, first to China and then to India. Does that mean that there will be where Russia?
Ну, что касается нынешнего турне, Китая и затем Индия, я считаю, что это вполне естественный маршрут. Мы являемся тесными партнерами с обеими странами, и втроем мы участвуем в целом ряде
all three together, we will be working together in a new format like BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This is the structure which is around ASEAN for regional security, and our threesome. Since it was formed almost 10 years ago, we have undertaken several meetings between foreign ministers, and which reflects a common interest and approach to resolve international problems. In China, with our colleague Wang Yi, we discussed further action in this line, and today we have discussed it with my colleague Dr. Shankar, and how actively we can use the stability of the international relations and especially and all these three sides, India, Russia and China, towards this security. There are enough plans, and we have not been bound with the markets as far as our products are concerned. The possibility of trade with Russia, we are always ready to find new markets and ready to cooperate in this direction. But as far as Russia-Ukraine talks are concerned, there are no so far final approved plan.
последний раунд в Стамбуле,
the last round of talks in Istanbul, Russian side has put its points on paper, which is necessary to be fulfilled, and the agreement should be formed definitely, and we are ready, and there is a move forward as far as this is concerned, and realization of Ukraine to be a bloc country, and to show to find happiness in this Pacific Ocean, and this is realized as an absolute requirement. And we have in mind that also in Donbass, and what is the potential of the further contacts.
Good afternoon, Excellency. Thank you for holding the press conference. So just wanted to know what are the key highlights of your extensive discussions with your Indian counterpart, Jaishankar. Did the issue of putting into place a ruble-rupee payment system figured in your talks, as well as India's plan to buy Russian oil at discounted rates? And also there have been some apprehensions in India about possible delays in supply of Russian arms to India, particularly components of S-400 missile systems. So would you like to say something on that? Thank you.
Well, as regards using ruble and rupee in our financial trade dealings, I would recall that many years ago we started moving in our relations with India, with China, and with many other countries from using dollar and euros to more and more use of national currencies. Under these circumstances, this trend, I believe, will be intensified, which is natural and obvious. We will be ready to supply to India any goods which India wants to buy. I already referred to this. We have very good relations between the trade ministries, ministries of finance, and I have no doubt that a way would be out to bypass the artificial impediments which illegal unilateral sanctions by the West created. This relates also to the area of military technical cooperation. We have no doubt that the solution would be found, and the respective ministries are working on it.
Good afternoon. The United States is pressurizing India to get involved into the West's anti-Russia campaign. Is this pressure affecting India-Russia relations? And is there a confidence that the partnership between other countries will not suffer?
Тем более оно не зависит от незаконных методов диктаторов и шантажа. Но вы знаете, по отношению к таким странам, как Россия, Индия, Китай,
the relationship between India, Russia and China and others have been trying to suppress and this politics, and also they are forcing others to follow their politics.
тех стран, с которыми пытаются разговаривать языком шантажа и ультиматума.
My question to you is, how do you look at India's position in this ongoing war? And what did you tell your Indian counterpart? And my question, another question is that, did you offer oil supply to India? And also, sir, is there any rupee-ruble, there is any confirmation on the rupee-ruble arrangement for payments? And my last question is that even Mr. Putin and you are sanctioned by US. So what are how do you look at this?
Well, any Russian has been sanctioned by the US and the European Union, so there is no surprise to me. The Western colleagues just made the real face known these days, and I have no slightest doubt that most countries on earth understand what is going on, understand inadmissibility of manners which are being demonstrated by our Western very, very unreliable partners. As regards Indian position on the developments in Ukraine, you called it a war, which is not true. It's a special operation which is being conducted with maximum attention to be paid not to provide any damage to the civilian infrastructure. The military infrastructure is being targeted, and the aim is to deprive the Kiev regime from capacity to present any threat to Russia. And this capacity has been built and strengthened for many years by the United States and other NATO countries who wanted to make anti-Russia out of our neighboring and fraternal country. I mentioned already just about rubles and rupees. This process is ongoing for many years. And the reason for moving to national currencies is again absolutely unreliable nature of our Western counterparts. We don't want to depend on a system which could be closed anytime. And we don't want to depend on the system whose masters can steal your money overnight. As regards, I mentioned about oil supplies and supplies of high technology. If India wants to buy anything from us, we are ready to discuss and to reach mutually acceptable forms of cooperation.
In view of the sanctions imposed by the West, is Russia planning to increase trade with India, and in what areas? It is a natural route for us to decide mutually beneficial relationship in trade, economic. If this kind of unjustified reaction that is then we have to objectively and naturally work in this direction. They work in the sphere of trade and economic areas, and it's not yesterday, but since many years we've been dealing with this, with Western sanctions, and so we have experience how to live in these conditions, and we are fine, and our partners are also fine in that.
Good afternoon, His Excellency. My question to you is that does it bother you when Western countries think of Russia's Plan B while refusing to pay for their gas in rubles? France and Germany, for instance, have already said that they won't accept such an approach by Kremlin. And second question is that, do you think that India has not taken a hawkish stand against Russia because of its dependence on S-400 missiles, or for that matter, make in India products like Kalashnikovs in Uttar Pradesh, despite pressure from the Western capitals, including the US and UK, 2 days ago?
As regards gas supplies to Europe, my president was very elaborate. He announced the signature of a decree which provided a scheme, as far as I could understand, acceptable to the Western countries. We cannot use the old scheme because, as I say, they pay us in their currency and then they arrest our accounts. It's like gold fever in the United States at some point when the country was created by those who fled from Europe because they were wanted by law, as far as I recall. So the scheme which has been presented is an honest scheme. It allows us to get the payment eventually in rubles, and that was the original goal. As for the, what was the second question?
Do you think that India has not taken a hawkish stand against Russia despite the pressure from the Western capitals because of its dependence on the discounted crude oil and also the import of S-400 missiles or Kalashnikovs?
You know, I cannot even imagine that India is taking some stance because India is under pressure. We respect, as I said earlier, the Indian concentration on its basic principles, namely that Indian foreign policy is built upon legitimate national interests of this country, of this state, and of these people. And that's basically all which I can say in response to your question.
Евгений Пахомов, ТАСС. Скажите, сейчас появились в Индии много говорят о том, и не только в Индии, что Индия может
A lot of people talk in India that India can be to mediate between Moscow and Kiev, and is there a possibility that Mr. Modi can become a mediator between Moscow and Kiev, and how much of this is possible? I have not heard about such talks, frankly speaking, and the position of India, which is not under any influence of the US dictates, and it seeks respect, and India is an important and serious country, and it is not. And if India sees to play that role, which provides resolution of the problem, then problem in this present condition, and to provide equality and security, and follow the principle of justice, and India as our common partner.
Гарантии своей безопасности. Мы за то, чтобы гарантии безопасности
are for the security guarantee being offered by Ukraine, and which have participated over the years in that no country will have security issues, and when West has ignored its responsibilities and has forced Russia into this straight threat, ideological and military, and if India is with its position of just and rational and a rational approach towards international problems, then it can support such process, and then no one is against it, I think.
Сергей Викторович, здравствуйте. Иван Козырев, Первый канал. Уже не первую неделю приходят сообщения со всего мира о том, что сухопутные войны захлестывают буквально целые районы, кварталы, и люди страдают от того, что называют просто средневековьем, от того, в чем они не виноваты. А какая реакция МИДа в последние дни на это? Может быть, сформированы какие-то уже единые центры принятия информации, центры помощи, центры принятия решений, и что будет происходить дальше в этом направлении, и что нужно сделать?
Знаете, мы уже не раз комментировали эту ситуацию, она действительно
we have commented on this many times, and Russia phobia, as if all the steps that the West has taken, and
и на самом-то деле за этой такой внешней приличной маской скрывалось его истинное лицо, которое сейчас просто проявилось в таких масштабах,
and in such a case, I cannot think everything Russia is being destroyed, and we have to fix a lot of work, and we have to register all these issues, and we have used all resources which are within our means, and and as far as the state institutions are and possibilities are concerned, then the fond of veterans are already working, and we have to organize the help and the external history that demands global action on the level of international organization, which must highlight the accessibility of I don't know how to name it, all the actions that the Western countries are acting, and discrimination, which for a long time they've been promoting, and attachment of the properties and the right of the free trade, free market. And I am not talking about the religion of the Pravoslav religion of Russia and the European countries, the civilized countries. And this conversation, whatever has happened, and all the people who have been doing all these actions, the UN, and without this conversation we cannot overcome, because not just the relations, international relations, but we see that all the decisions, international decisions of the US, which are related to they don't decide anything. Germany completely is the associate of the US, blind associate, and to the American colleagues, and support this unipolar world, and to create the multipolar world, the war of the fight of for democracy. And when democracy joins them in this condition, they themselves are in the autocratic mode. And if you show the US what they have done in Libya, in Syria, then there are different threats that come up, and of the fake, which are based on the fake news, and then the US can kill hundreds of people, civilians in Syria. And if others, not just Russia, but the mentality which is the low mentality of the all the activities of the West, we see the direct threat which is incarnated in all their programs. The military base straight in the territory close in the neighboring country is so Russia has to be pushed to look into their own personal interest. And this question is for the peace building, in which all the norms of of decency and international law and all the values which will be chosen over. It is necessary. This necessity of this is understood by China and India, and it was raised in the discussion with Mr. Jaishankar, and well, in the discussion yesterday, he had also mentioned about the issues of the present world order, and it should change, and it should become equal, multipolar, and without any dictates.
Dobro Pozhalovat, Your Excellency. This is Ayan from the New Indian. My first question is, why India? Secondly, the Russia is actually hammered by a lot of sanctions, including on SWIFT code. So will Your Excellency, will you recommend India or any other friend countries to use any alternative payment gateway? Thank you, Your Excellency.
I first have to understand, you asked why India? Why India what?
Your visit to India at this point of time?
Well, because we are friends and we regularly exchange visits. The second question was about SWIFT.
Yeah.
Well, for many years, as I said, when the nature of our Western partners, who are entirely unreliable, became more and more obvious and known, we started developing national payment systems. In Russia, the central bank several years ago established a system of communication of financial information. India has a similar system which is called RuPay, and it is absolutely clear that more and more transactions would be done through these systems using national currencies, bypassing dollar, euro, and other currencies which proved totally unreliable. Thank you.